True. True.
True.
Yeah. Let's go. What's good? What is good? We got Branch in the building early. How are you feeling? What is good, Branch? How you doing? How was y'all weekend? How was y'all weekend, chat? How was y'all weekend? Mine was good. I had a lot of things going on this weekend. Like, I feel like there was, I won't say more than usual, but the end of the year, you already know, it's a huge time for me because it's nonstop. It's just bang, 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 bang. Every other day, it's like something going on. Shout out to the ads. I feel like that's considered like a pre-roll ad. W Raid. Y'all know we gotta have a little turn up session right now. Let's go. Big Block live in the building. I can't recall how long this tone goes on for, but shout out to the raid. Let's see if it actually plays. Let's see. There we go. There it is. Yo, baby mama man in the chat. Feel free to leave that door open behind you. Yo, baby mama, Mr. Steal Your Girl is in the building. Your baby, hold up. So your baby mama man, that's a stepdaddy, chat. That's a step. Listen, we already know ain't nothing wrong with a stepdaddy. You feel me? Because first of all, I feel like stepdaddies get the best of them because, listen, you already then ruin your girl's life in whatever way is in her head. And then she come and get the revenge body. And then she take that revenge body and she go over to your baby mama man. Listen, ain't nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? And listen, it takes a village. You feel me, chat? It takes a village. How are y'all doing? How was y'all weekend? Y'all already know the vibes. Listen, hopefully it's not my baby mama. I got kids, and I had to take them to school 2 hours late. Ergo, y'all get True on the line 2+ hours late. Shout out to the biddies. Shout out to the biddies. Listen, let's get into it. First of all, let me tell y'all about my weekend. If you don't know, and if you're new here, first of all, again, shout out to the raid, Big Block Live coming through. But I'm True Key Man. You can call me True. Everybody calls me True. I'm a variety streamer. Sorry, it's early. I just chat a lot. I do some IRL. I play some games sometimes. I just do whatever comes to mind. I normally stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I did give y'all like almost like a surprise stream this weekend because, weekends are normally reserved for the family. But this weekend, there was so much going on. I had my anniversary. I had a holiday party. We had set a Guinness World Record. That's a real thing too, chat. I'm in the DMV area. So shout out to the DMV. If anybody's in the DMV area and you were here, they had the Guinness World Record for the largest couples kiss. The largest couples kiss. And I seen, it was a lot of people. Ultimately, the world record was broken. The previous record, peep this. The previous record was 480. I think exactly 488 couples. DC went so crazy with 1,435 couples. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. And the guy that actually, I guess, is the host of the record, the one that put this together with the giant mistletoe and all that, apparently it started off with something with him and his girl. And let me tell you, you too can simp to another level. You can simp to another level, Chad. Right? He told the story. He said, listen, we started off with a mistletoe and we say, hey, I want to make this is a national mistletoe. And he got a national mistletoe. So shout out to that brother. You know what I'm saying? I would encourage him, however, to keep that tradition going as long as he can, because your baby mama man is in the building too, chat. You feel me? Let me give y'all a sneak peek. Let me go in studio mode. Let me give y'all a sneak peek. Let me bring up my screen just in case y'all have absolutely no idea what the hell I'm talking about. And it's Monday, so you already know I'm going to give y'all some financial entertainment. I'll give y'all the disclaimer in a second. This is me. These are my two babies. They're not this small anymore. But there you go right there, right? So DC breaks world record. Hold up, go back. DC breaks world record for the most couples kissing under a mistletoe. Any dude I talked to and they were like, yo, how'd you find out about this? It was the ladies. The ladies were the ones that were like, listen, we're going to make sure all the guys are aware of this situation. I was trying to find the video of the dude talking. Hold up. Let me see real quick. Oh, actually, I didn't even have to do that. I got this little situation too. Let me see if I can find that video real quick, chat. Should only take a second. Here we go. I think this is it.
3, 2, 1, go. That is 2.5 seconds.
I'm gonna show you guys.
You are at 5 seconds. You can keep on going. I'm not going to stop.
So in
Actually,
order to break the record, the kiss had to last for 7 seconds. You had to have your lips locked for 7 seconds.
Stuart, I need you to record 3.
Look at all these people. And look at this big ass
go.
mistletoe. So I thought it was cute or whatever.
seconds.
You know what I'm saying? And it took place, like
You
I
are
said,
at 5 seconds.
I've
You
been
can keep
married
on
for
going. I'm
a
not going to
minute.
stop. Actually, I will stop you.
For a young guy, I've been married for a minute, but it was a vibe. It got the weekend going. We had plenty of drinks, plenty of champagne. We just turned up all weekend. But that's not what y'all here for on Monday. So again, hopefully y'all enjoyed y'all weekend, but we're going to get into it, right? So, disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a certified financial planner. I am not a tax accountant. I'm not a tax advisor. I don't handle people's money for money, anyone's personal anyway, right? So I say all that to say anything you see here or hear, take it as a grain of salt. It is financial entertainment. If you learn something, which I hope you do, take that information you learn, go back and do your own research, right? So the reason why we do this every Monday is because you have to, what we call, keep your ear to the earth, right? Keep your ear to the ground, to the world, however it is you want to call it. That morning coffee. You got to pay attention to what's going on. This is how you understand what's going on with your money, where people are making money. You have to understand how things can affect the economy or how it can trickle down to you, right? So by reading certain articles or observing certain information, you can begin to learn about investing, saving money, credit, all those things. And one of the things we like to do here is we like to go to CNBC, right? Because CNBC is just, it's user friendly. Like, look at this interface. It's real clean. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it, it's not all jumbled up. You can pretty much go anywhere to read articles. So what we do here on CNBC is we do like an article rundown. We look at some of the titles, we make assumptions just to give us an idea of how the day or the week can potentially play out. Now, the stock market's been open. We're starting a couple hours late today. Stock market is open. You see here, we call this our Christmas bar because it gives you red and green. And we can see the Dow's down, S&P up, NASDAQ's down, Russell's down, VIX, i.e. volatility, is up. For our headliner, S&P 500 gives up gain and retreats as AI-related stocks come under pressure again. AI they're going to put you through a roller coaster. It's going to be up and down, right? That is typically what you're going to see out of AI because there's so many things that AI is affecting. There are so many things that AI is slowly putting their hand in. Again, we mention all the time that OpenAI and other companies are doing business with pretty much everyone. So just keep your eye out for that. Let's see what kind of articles they got for us today, chat. Let's see what kind of articles they got for us today. Has its Fed chair candidacy received pushback from high-level people close to Trump, sources say? That told us nothing. It told us nothing. But shout out to that. Trump says Kevin Warsh is at top of Fed chair candidate list. President should be consulted on rates. So apparently, I guess Trump is considering Kevin Warsh as a replacement for current federal chair leader Jerome Powell. Y'all know when Jerome Powell speaks, it could go either way. But if you've seen the memes, y'all know it's the good evening. And then the stocks just kind of plummet. That's kind of the power that the Fed chair, president, other people in those type of situations have. FDA approved the $250,000 Singapore work trip during government shutdown, record show. Who went on a $250,000 Singapore work trip? Shouldn't the trip to Singapore cost you less money? Like, what's the cost of living in Singapore? Let's see, chat. If I'm not mistaken, Singapore is expensive with a single person needing 1,200 SGD. What's the Singapore dollars, right? Monthly, excluding rent for basic needs, while a family of four might need 4,300, 5,500 SGD. Housing is the biggest cost, ranging from $1,500 for a room to $5,000 for a central 2-bedroom. Now, I see how they switched to dollars. Now, are they saying actual United States dollars? Let's find out the conversion rate. Because it says a single person needs 1,200 to 2,500 plus monthly. So let's do the upper end, 2,500 Singapore dollars to USD. How much is that? $1,900. I don't know. I mean, they say it's expensive, but $1,900? You're talking $2,000 a month, chat? That's $24,000 a year. That's minimum wage, basically. I don't know. I wouldn't say that's expensive, but let's $250,000, yo, they had to turn up. They must have been going wild. High cost of goods is causing consumers to spend less for the holidays. CNBC survey finds. Yes. And they got a picture of Costco. Leave Costco out of this. Costco is expensive because you go in there and you need all of that shit. Especially if you have a big family. Like if you're a single dude, right? Going to Costco, maybe, right? If you only want to shop once every 6 months, then yeah, go to Costco. But as a single dude, I can't imagine why you would be going to Costco that often, or any big box store like a Costco or a Sam's Club or a BJ's or whatever, that often. Now, if you got a family, if you have stepkids, you know what I'm saying? Then maybe you're going there. Maybe you're trying to make somebody's baby mama happy and you're like, listen, baby girl, I'm going to Costco and I'm going to buy the ribeyes. I'm going to buy the crab cakes. I'm going to buy the loaded mashed potatoes. I'm going to get you the crispy green grapes, sweetheart. And what's that other stuff you like, the protein shakes or the collagen to put in your coffee and shit? Yeah, I'm going to get that to you. I'm going to get that for you too. And while I'm there, I'm gonna see if I can pick up a Christmas gift for little your baby's mama's man Junior. You feel me? But that's the cost of goods are high, and if you go to a store like a regular grocery store, not one that's a discounted store like a Save-A-Lot or something, you go into a Giant, Safeway, Shoppers, any of them stores, they're gonna smack your head. For the most basic items, they're going to smack your head for toilet paper. So yeah, it's important to pay attention to stuff like that. Roomba maker iRobot files for bankruptcy, pursues manufacturer buyout. People got tired of paying astronomical prices for vacuums that I don't own one, chat. So I don't know how good they work. Convenient, I'm sure they're convenient as hell. Especially if you have a pet. You know what I'm saying? Did you into Rumble? What are you saying by that? But yeah, them robots, chat. Oh, do I look into Rumble? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. On the weekends, I be gone. I'm non-existent on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? I gotta make sure the family's happy, so that way it's not another dude taking care of my family. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna definitely look into that. But yeah, people got tired of the automatic robots. Like, unless you have pets, which could be good, it can make sure the pet hair is cleaned up and stuff. Like, people are like, all right, it only takes 2 seconds to vacuum. I can get me a little $30, $40 vacuum, plug it into the wall. I can vacuum myself. If I want to spend a little bit more, maybe I get me a Dyson or a Shark vacuum that's cordless, and I can do it. But an iRobot for $400 to $800, whatever the case is, nah, it's not sustainable. Maybe when AI takes over, because I'm pretty sure some of them robots gonna be having, you're gonna see a lot more of these robots with mops on them. They're gonna say, listen, now we have one, and they may already have it, chat. I don't know. I don't own one. So you tell me if I'm wrong. They're going to say, hey, now introducing the new Roomba, specifically for tile floors or hardwood floors. The Roomba Mini and the shit vacuums and mops your floor, right? Put a little bit of wood floor cleaner in there, will wax your floor too. You come home, your shit is shiny. That's what they're going to have to do. Them Roombas, they're going to have to make one for the car. Shout out to Jobby in the building. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have to do more than just vacuum my room. They're going to have to make my bed. You feel me? Palantir CIO Jim Siders leaves to become head of Thrive Capital's new IT services business. Hey, watch him. I don't know what's going on, but he left Palantir and he going to Thrive. Hey, I'm just going to tell you this, Jim Siders. You don't need my advice. You're obviously more successful than I am. But don't be using proprietary information. We don't want to see Thrive out here with Palantir's business model. Okay? We're just making assumptions, chat. Monday's biggest analyst calls. I told you it's always going to be NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple, Vite. You know, they're always going to be on there. They're always going to have the big dogs on there. And Jobby, I hope you had a great weekend. You know, a time to renew. DMV area decided to snow. We've been getting a little bit of snow lately. I ain't gonna lie to you. And when snow comes, you know, it's not as bad as if like a Atlanta or one of those areas gets snow. Y'all, they get an inch of snow in Atlanta and the city just shuts down. Here, nah. it's going to take a little bit more than that. Now, because of the kids, they will slow it down, but people still they be out here driving. The streets are still packed. S&P 500 gives up gain and retreats. So that was our top article right there. From puppies to superheroes, Chinese AI toys are bringing hugs and hesitation. Listen, I seen Black Mirror, and listen, anybody seen Black Mirror, chat? Anybody seen Black Mirror? Because I watched Black Mirror, and there was an episode where they were taking people's subconscious and they was putting it in teddy bears. God damn! Y'all remember that? Anybody remember that? Anybody seen Black Mirror episode when, I can't recall, I don't want to spoil it, but it been out for years. It was a mom or a dad. They took the subconscious of the person, put it into a teddy bear, and then they gifted that teddy bear to the kid, and then that mother had to watch everything that anywhere the teddy bear went, this person that was in the teddy bear subconsciously had to just watch everything that happened. They couldn't do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a dude and you're put into a teddy bear, and then all of a sudden this teddy bear is sitting in your girl's room, and you got some other dude coming and he's cuddled up real nice with your girl, you got to watch that through the eyes of a teddy bear, or you got to see all this crazy shit. That's basically, and now they're talking about AI toys are bringing I don't know, chat. Let's make sure we keep an eye on these teddy bears. They putting AI in the teddy bears, chat. I don't know about that. Next thing you know, it's going to be AI in the Muppets and on Sesame Street. You can be like, I thought they were actors. No, those puppets. Look, Ernest and Ernie and Bert, Big Bird, they all moving by themselves now. They running the show over there. You feel me? Ukraine gives up joining NATO and bid to shift the dial in Russia peace talks. I don't really know what the impacts of that are. We're not seeing too many big things right now. B of A, so Bank of America, Savita Subramanian says S&P 500 will rise to only 7,100 in 2026. What she mean only? What do you mean by that? It'll only rise to 7,100. The S&P will only? You can't use words like only, but, and I guess in her case, with the S&P already being at 6,800, another 300 points ain't very far-fetched, right? It's not very far-fetched. But if we could look at, let's see if we can blow this calendar up. This is just a chart of the S&P, chat. If we're looking at this, right? Let's zoom out some. Let's go to 6 months. Matter of fact, let's go to year to date. 7,100 is still not, we haven't reached that point. So only 7,100 is still higher than it is now. So you're talking still a lot of people making money. You feel what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say only, right? Because the same is true. It could only go down to 6,500. I mean, we'll see what happens. Police investigate deaths of filmmaker Rob Reiner and wife as apparent homicide. They were saying Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered by their child. And if I'm not mistaken, just looking at Rob Reiner, I think Rob Reiner is the guy that played he played Leo DiCaprio's dad, right? In The Wolf of Wall Street. Right? When he's like TNA, he's like too much TNA. TNA. TNE. Let's see if we can. I'm pretty sure that's, Wolf of Wall Street. Yep, not mistaken. Bucket List, A Few Good Men, Misery, Flipped, and So It Does, When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, All in the Family. Yeah. Rest in peace to that man and his wife, apparently. Police to release man detained over Brown University mass shooting. Listen, they got to chill out with the mass shootings. But there's apparently way more mass shootings than we're aware of. But, chill out. You know what I'm saying? You worrying about mass shootings while people worrying about groceries. Can we all get on the same page for a moment? Can we all just worry about groceries at the same time? right? Like nobody got time to be worrying about people getting killed in mass shootings, especially it's cold outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, go in the house. You feel me? Australia plans tougher gun laws after police say father and son killed 15 at Bondi Beach. A father and son. What kind of psychotic relationship does a father and son need to have to decide, oh, we're going to take our shooting skills to the streets or to the beach? Like, bro, y'all sick. Copper could have hit stratospheric new highs as hoarding of the metal in U.S. continues. Listen, if you have any pennies and copper starts to hit quote unquote new highs, let's figure out how we can get more than a cent for these pennies. You feel me? Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't they manufacture the last penny? Right, chat? Penny manufacturing. Then they stop. Yeah, U.S. penny production for general circulation officially ended November 2025. Listen, if you didn't know that, if you didn't know that, chat, now you know. After President Trump halted it due to high costs, nearly 4 cents to make one. It's cost 4 cents to make 1 penny, chat. Talk about a waste of money. Talk about a waste of money. But U.S. penny production is over as of 2025, which means all the pennies in circulation, that's it. The U.S. Mint will still produce them for collectors, but circulating supplies are dwindling, leading to cash shortages and forcing businesses towards rounding to the nearest nickel. A shift expected to cost consumers small amounts annually. Like, if you don't go to Coinstar, right? If you have change left, maybe you roll them up so you have a specific amount and then you get rid of any couple loose ones. But I don't know. I'm thinking maybe you might want to keep them because who knows what the future holds, right? What this means for you, cashing your pennies, they are legal tender but harder to get. Look, they're harder to get, which means they probably are going to be worth more in the future, chat. Isn't that what that means? When something is harder to get, it's going to be worth more. Isn't that what we talked about, last week or the week before, supply and demand? If there's not a demand of pennies around, the value of the penny may go up, even if it slightly is more than what it's worth currently. Of course, the usage is declining because everything's electronic. You feel me? Shout out to War Dog in the building. Our resident troll has arrived, so you already know the vibes.
You're cooked, brother.
You're cooked. But they're talking about copper. A big year-end rotation is underway on Wall Street. Yes, it is, chat. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. I don't know what this article is specifically talking about, but I'm going to give you guys a little short understanding of how to interpret a piece of rotation. Goldman Sachs makes big bet on ETFs specializing in downside protection. Downside protection. Mackenzie Scott announced $7.1 billion in 2025 donations. She's given away $26.3 billion since 2019. To have that much money to give away, I actually saw a story about why she gives the money away and why she gives a lot of it to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. And that was because someone close to her, basically taught her and some other stuff, right? But shout out to her. She giving out hella bread. 26.3 billion? Chat. Tell her let us hold some. Groceries expensive. How groceries this expensive and you got somebody in this same country with us? The spectrum of this country is insane. You have someone who can't afford anything, and then you have someone who's giving away $30 billion. Billion with a B. You feel me? CEO of 25 years. I ditched this toxic mindset to become a better boss. What was it? Underpaying your employees? I ditched the mindset of underpaying my employee. I learned something, chat. When you pay people what they're worth, they would actually provide you with the value you deserve. Think about it. Let me actually treat people like human beings. Trump wants U.S. shipbuilding to be great again. Here's what it will take and what's at stake. He wants U.S. shipbuilding to be great again. Listen, Trump wants everything to be great again. Just go ahead and do what you're going to do, Trump. Use your years to do whatever it is you want to do, because next man's is going to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And man's after that, and potentially women's or man's again after that. They're going to do whatever they want. So you make everything as great as you want, right? Because if you can tear down a wing of the White House and turn it into a golden ballroom, listen, the next person can tear down the golden ballroom and make it a copper ballroom. Or someone can tear that down and make it a fucking streaming house. You feel me? Like, do whatever you want. 3 questions to ask yourself to figure out if you're ready for a new job from an HR exec. Do I feel like they're paying me enough? That's probably question 1. Do I feel valued here? That's probably question 2. Do I want to smash my head against the first window I see when I go in work? That's probably question 3, chat. If you can answer those 3 questions, it should tell you whether you're ready for a new job. This simple change can help you have more effective meetings and avoid unnecessary ones. Listen, if it can be an email, then make it an email. After my info ended up on the dark web, I used these 6 tools to protect my identity. First of all, chat, I have so many questions about this. First of all, like, how did you know your info ended up on the dark web unless you were searching the dark web and found your own info? Right? Because I can imagine somebody, like, if your identity gets stolen, you probably won't know unless you get a letter in the mail from the credit bureaus and like, bro, you've been applying for hella credit. You've been opening up bank accounts all over the place. This is not like you, right? But this guy, after my info ended up on the dark web, I used these 6 tools to protect my identity. You have 6 tools, brother? Because I know half the people said dark web.
What the hell is even that?
What the hell is even that? But yeah, the dark web is a place that I'm not going to type it in because I understand what the dark web is. And I don't want to start curating a new algorithm on my computer. But the dark web is a place where they sell everything that you're not buying on Google. Like people's identities, maybe some organs, maybe some super illegal narcotics, etc. And some other things that I probably can't even think of. You can probably buy AI that is already like with the red eyes, right? You can probably buy some of that Terminator software. I don't know. I don't go on the dark web. So if my information ended up on there, I probably wouldn't know at all. And I definitely wouldn't have 6 tools to protect my identity. I would probably open the piece of mail from the credit bureau and be like,
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
I ain't gonna lie, chat. I'm getting cooked. You know what I'm saying? Stranger Things ushered in a new era for Netflix. It did. Stranger Things got they got the seasons popping. They got the games going. They got the Stranger Things experience. They got the serial. And then Netflix, again, as we found out last week, is basically taking over Warner Brothers and everything that they own. So listen, it's about to get a lot more wild. But if for some reason the world gets shut down again, whether that be by a sickness because nobody covers their damn mouth, or because AI decided to lock everyone in their house because most people have a smart lock or a camera around their crib. Listen, either way, Netflix got us covered, chat. So shout out to that. Netflix gonna have us covered. You feel me? But in short, I mean, the articles didn't really tell us much about this week. It didn't really tell us what to look for. I mean, yeah, federal chair, yeah, we want to pay attention to that, right? Because the market is going to go absolutely crazy the day we get, a new chair in place, right? But one of the things, like I said, that was mentioned that I want to talk about is kind of that shift in the seasons, right? Specifically, I want to talk about witching. Witching, right? Witching. What is it, chat? Witching. Do you know what that is? Are you familiar with witching? Let's get into it real quick. And I'm not going to be able to give you the extreme deep dive, but I do want to touch on it because, again, my main thing here in terms of this financial entertainment is to make you aware of the information out there so you can do a lot of the research for yourself, right? Sorry, chat. Witching, right? So in the investment world, and again, if you've been showing up Monday after Monday after Monday, we talked about everything from what is a stock to how to invest in the stock market, where to go to buy stocks. We talked about businesses. I showed you how to open up a business account. I showed you how to establish a business. So chat, if you're listening and this is your first Monday with us, you need to go back and watch all of the Mondays because we're absolutely cooking. We're talking about everything that pertains to finance, not just investing. We're talking about everything, right? I show people how to get yourself out of a negative situation if a bank won't allow you to open up a bank account. Sorry, chat. Short story is we've talked about a lot of things. We haven't gotten deep into the contract realm. And what I mean by contracts is just check out this definition. So witching investing refers to the market activity, especially volatility and high volume. We know what volatility is, chat. We know what volume is, occurring on witching days. Usually the third Friday of March, June, September, and December, when multiple derivative contracts, right? So your options, your futures contracts expire simultaneously, forcing traders to close, right? Roll or exercise positions, creating a flurry of activity, particularly in the final hour, the witching hour. Right? So first, when it comes to a trade or a contract, let's really briefly talk about those three things. To close means you are exiting the position. So if you have a contract, you're selling the contract or closing out the contract, you're getting out of it, right? You're getting your money back, whatever that is. Maybe you lost a few dollars or you gained a few dollars, you're closing it out. Rolling a contract or rolling a position means you're getting into a position with more time to expiration, right? Because again, when we're talking about witching days, we're talking about an expiration date. So you're rolling into a further out expiration date, or you're rolling to a different strike, potentially on the same expiration date. Or you can exercise your position, meaning, hey, when it comes to a contract, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that, but a contract could be for a certain price. To exercise means you're going to take advantage of whatever the contract is offering, right? So this simultaneous expiration of stock options, index options, and index futures is called triple witching, right? Triple witching, chat. And when single stock futures are added, it becomes quadruple witching. So here you have on a quadruple witching day, you have options, stock options, index futures, and you have single stock futures all expiring on the same day, right? So the key aspects of witching days. And yes, I understand that this thing that we're talking about today may be a little more complex for some people, but it's important that you are hearing it and you're thinking about it because this gives you information and it tells you what to look out for. Because regardless of all the articles that hardly told us shit, right? This is going to give us some information. So key aspects of witching days. Again, multiple expirations are happening. Stock options, index options, and index futures all expire on the same day. Increased volume. Significant trading surges occur as traders manage expiring positions. So you can just think about it this way. If you have all these things happening on one day, you're going to have a lot of activity. In having a lot of activity, you're going to have what? Heightened volatility. Unpredictable price swings can happen due to concentrated trading. Notes Investopedia and Option Alpha, right? So you're going to have heightened volatility. The witching hour, chat, is the last hour of trading that sees the most intense activity as contracts are settled or adjusted. The witching hour, right? So if we assume that the stock market is going to close at 4 p.m., the witching hour is going to be that 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. hour, right? So the market mechanics, it's a significant event for derivative traders. So people who are out here doing options contracts, you're doing futures contracts, this is an important event. So if you've been doing that and have no idea what triple witching or quad witching or witching hour is, welcome. Right? It's a significant event for derivative traders, but doesn't predict market direction, acting more as a technical phenomenon of contract management. This is according to Investopedia and Investors Business Daily. Here's why it matters, chat. For retail investors, you can experience bigger stock price swings or gaps, right? I showed you guys before what a gap in pricing would look like. Institutional investors use the increased liquidity to rebalance portfolios or execute large trades. So there's going to be a lot of buying and selling and rolling and all those different type of things. And your institutional investors, your whales, are going to take advantage of that. Your retail investors may get cooked if they're not paying attention, if they're not strategizing how they're going to approach this, especially if they have futures contracts, if they have options contracts that are expiring on the upcoming quadruple witching day, which there are a lot of contracts expiring. That's why they call it quadruple witching. So a strategy. While volatile, it's a predictable, cyclical event that experienced traders may use for opportunities, while long-term investors might simply note the increased activity, say SoFi and Investopedia, right? So what are the dates? We already know it's March, June, September, and December, but for 2025, right, the quadruple witching dates, again, are the third Fridays, and specifically March 21st, June 20th, September 19th, December 19th, 2025. This is the main reason we're talking about that. That's this Friday, chat. This Friday, right, is going to mark the day with high trading volume and volatility due to simultaneous expiration of stock index futures, stock index options, and stock options, chat. Again, that definition. What is quadruple witching? It's a quarterly event when 4 types of financial derivatives expire: stock index futures, options on stock index futures, stock options, and single stock futures. Single stock futures, those single stock futures have largely ceased trading in the US, making it effectively triple witching. You feel me, chat? Shout out to Karen for joining the chat. Keep the door open for anyone who wants to get this good old information. How you doing today, Karen? We're giving out some financial entertainment. Karen is a first-time chatter. So make sure you show Karen some love. Let us know, Karen, are you also a streamer? Let us know. But welcome. Right now, we're talking about some witching investing, triple witching, quadruple witching, which does take place this Friday, right? This conversion of expirations often leads to increased trading activity and potential price swings, particularly during the final hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is if you're Eastern time. Time adjusts for wherever you are. That's the witching hour. And again, disclaimer, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not licensed. I'm not a CFP. I'm not a tax accountant, none of that. I'm just here showing you a good way to Google information that may or may not apply to you. If you're a more advanced trader or investor, this may be familiar to you. This may be the first time you've heard it, even as an advanced investor or trader, but it is important because it's taking place this Friday and it will have high volatility, right? December 19th, chat, is going to be a quadruple witching day, right? You feel me? Let's see if this little video has anything to offer. This might just be an ad, but we're gonna keep talking about it, right? Just because we want people again to do their own research. Here's a little video. Let's see what they explain to us about quad witching.
According to folklore, those who practiced witchcraft were especially strong and active during short periods of time, which created the term witching hour. In a financial context, quadruple witching refers to the day on which contracts for stock index futures, stock index options, stock options, and single stock futures expire. The financial witching hour is traditionally the last hour of trading on those days, during which transactions reach a peak. Stock options contracts expire on the third Friday of each month, and once every quarter, all 4 asset classes expire on the same day, the third Friday of March, June, September, and December.
December, chat.
Quadruple witching days are important because futures and options investors must close out of their positions on these days, typically causing frenzied market activity. Investors usually brace for the increased trading volume and volatility that accompanies quadruple witching days by selling off positions and repurchasing contracts.
Y'all heard it, chat. People have to get out of those contracts. They have to. You want to know what happens to a contract that you don't exercise or you don't roll, you don't close out? Your contract may go to zero, right? You may just lose everything you invested into the contract. So if you're wondering, do people have to do something? Something has to be done. In certain situations, maybe your brokerage firm may exercise the contract for you depending on the rules of said brokerage or the position that you're in for the contract. But listen, there will be hella contracts expiring, chat. Hella contracts expiring, right? So that's going to be a high trading volume day, December 19th, right? Here are the dates for 2026. If you're already aware of quadruple witching and what it means, here's how to prepare yourself for for 2026. I'm sorry. March 20th, June 19th, September 18th, December 18th. Another reason why it's important to pay attention to things like this, because you have a high volatility. If you think about all the different little scenarios we talked about, here you have, let's bring up a calendar. December 2025 calendar, right? Here you have December, and this may be a little hard to see, right? Let's see if the picture comes up. Right? Here you have December 19th, a quadruple witching day that takes place directly before a holiday week, which takes place right before another holiday week. And if we recall, chat, just as a quick reminder for anyone who's new or who's anyone who missed it, you have quadruple witching that goes into the holiday season, and what comes up after that? What comes up after that, chat? The Santa Claus rally. The Santa Claus rally, chat. Remember, a historical stock market phenomenon. Again, this is the second phenomenon where U.S. equity markets tend to rise during a specific 7-day trading window around the Christmas holiday. Santa Claus rally 2025, right? Santa Claus rally 2025. Let's see if they give us any type of dates or predictions, odds of, sorry. We want to continue reading, but we don't want to pay for any articles. We don't want to sign up. We don't want to do any of that. Let's go to Yahoo Finance. Let's see what they say. We just want quick information to see if what they're saying about this. Look, they're talking about Nvidia, they're talking about Google, they're talking about Oracle, right? We're just talking about the Santa Claus rally. We just want to see if anyone are talking about probable dates. CNBC, let's see. A big opportunity emerged in the chip stocks just ahead of a Santa Claus rally, how to trade them with options. All right. So there's a lot of articles. Short story is, you see the information is out there, chat. The Santa Claus rally is coming up. We know that's another phenomenon that happens in December, and it's going to take place shortly following quadruple witching. So here you have a date this Friday where 4 different types of contracts are going to expire, forcing volatility into the market, literally forcing it, because people will have to do something with these positions, right? And then you have a Christmas holiday, which some of these days the market is not going to be open. And then you're going to have a rally going into the new year. Listen, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you, you have to pay attention, right? You have to pay attention, right? These are the things that we want to pay attention to. So stock options, right? Options are derivatives, which means they derive their value from the underlying securities, such as stocks. Option contracts give a buyer the right, but not the obligation, to trade a set number of shares of the underlying security at a given strike price at any time before options expire. We know options, one of the expiration dates is going to be this Friday. There are 2 types of options. A call option may be bought to speculate on a price increase in a particular stock. If the share price is higher than the strike price on the option's expiration date, the investor can exercise the option to buy 100 shares of the stock at the strike price and resell them at the higher market price, or may simply sell the option at a profit before expiration. That is part of what is going to be taking place this Friday, chat. A put option. A put option lets an investor profit from a decline in a stock share price as long as the price is below the strike at expiration. Monthly stock option contracts expire on the 3rd Friday of every month. Option buyers pay an upfront cost known as the option premium. These are things that are going to be taking place this Friday when it comes to the expiration, right? Index options. An index option works much like a stock options contract, but derives its value from that of an equity index rather than a single stock share price. So if you think about an index like an S&P, like a SPY, right? Or a NASDAQ, right? A QQQ, right? The value of the underlying index relative to the options contract strike price is what determines an index option trade's profitability. As with stock options, index options don't confer an ownership interest. Unlike stock options, index options are cash settled. Another important distinction is that index options are European style, meaning they can only be exercised on the expiration date. they can only be exercised on the expiration date, chat. Again, that expiration date is this Friday. While stock options may be exercised at any time before expiration. So there could be a lot of volatility this week leading up to quad witching just because the stock options can be exercised prior to Friday, prior to that witching hour. Index futures. Futures contracts are legal agreements to buy or sell an asset at a determined price at a specified future date. Futures contracts are standardized with fixed quantities and expiration dates. Futures trade on a futures exchange. The buyer of a futures contract is obligated to buy the underlying asset at expiration, while the seller is obligated to sell at expiration. So if you were to look at a futures contract and, for example, see, I don't know, I'm just using a fictitious number, chat, 1 million futures contracts for NVIDIA. Just know that the buyer of the futures contract is obligated to buy the underlying asset. So if you see all of a sudden NVIDIA on Friday going up, you know that's because people who hold the futures contracts are obligated to buy the underlying asset, that asset in that example being NVIDIA. Right? You feel me? Index futures cash settle at expiration at the specified price, with the value of the index at the time determining the trade's profitability. Like index options, index futures can be used to hedge a portfolio of stocks, limiting the damage from bear markets. In a bear market, a trade selling a futures contract earns a profit, offsetting the stock's portfolio's loss. The goal is to minimize short-term losses for long-term holdings. Let's talk about one more. Single stock futures. Single stock futures are obligations to take delivery of shares of the underlying stock at the contract's expiration date at a specified price. Each contract represents 100 shares of stock. Holders of stock futures don't receive dividend payments. Even when single stock futures traded in the US, they were a minor market segment relative to the trading flows in stock options, index options, and futures. So yes, I know this may be complicated for some, this may be advanced talk for others, but ultimately what you need to basically understand is that on Friday, all of these contracts are going to have an expiration date that fall on the same day. Close to the end of the year, chat. You're going to have a ton of contracts expiring, and people are going to have to do something with those contracts. They're going to have to close them out. They're going to have to roll them. They're going to have to exercise them. There's going to be a lot of that going on, right? So in situations where we're, for example, keeping an eye on, let's say, the VIX, we're keeping an eye on the VIX, it wouldn't be strange to see some type of jump in the VIX as you get closer to a quad witching date, right? What were the quad witching dates this year, chat? March 21st was the first date. March 21st. Let's just see how the VIX responded around March 21st. Right? So here you have the VIX, right? It's in a daily format. And around March, so here's the middle of March, that's March 11th. And here's the 21st. So here was a quad witching date. And not saying that this is guaranteed, but a couple of days later, what do we see? We see a spike. We see a spike in the VIX. Not saying that's guaranteed to happen, but that falls after a quad witching date. What's the next quad witching date? June 20th. Let's look at what happened around June 20th in the VIX. So here you have June, and here you have the days of June, and then here you have June 20th, right? So June 20th, after this, the VIX dropped and it kind of stayed steady. It stayed steady. Not much really happened, right? September 19th. We approached September 19th. Here we are. The VIX stayed steady for a while. It wasn't a bunch of back and forth. It stayed steady for a while. And then here you have September 19th. And it didn't really start kicking up until October. And then now, let's look at it as we approach quad witching now. Again, still steady. And then as we approach the 19th, we have to just watch and see what happens, right? So again, it's important to just see how, one, the VIX and how certain equities, we used NVIDIA as an example, so let's go to NVIDIA, to see how they respond in those situations, right? So let's go again. Let's look at March 21st. Let's just see if we can see anything happening, right? So here is March 21st, and NVIDIA went down, right? It actually started going down. Next date, June 20th. June 20th, right after this quad witching, NVIDIA I don't want to say skyrocketing, but it started to go up. It started to go up at this point. September 19th. Here we are, September. Here's the 19th. And from here, NVIDIA started to go up, had some volatility up and down, but it slowly started to go up. And then here we are again. So as you start to look at these different equities, right, just know that all of these equities, the indices, again, we mentioned QQQ while we were talking, they're all going to have contracts, whether it be futures contracts, whether it be stock contracts, expiring this Friday. So if you see volatility entering the market, you know that is one of, not the only, but one of the factors, right? So how quadruple witching affects market dynamics. Heavy trading volume occurs because in the money options automatically exercise, requiring share delivery for calls. Call options profit when the security's price is above the option strike price. Put options are in the money when the stock's price is below the strike price. Expiring in the money options increase trading volume as shares are bought or sold to close out trades. Again, that's one of the things that people are going to have to do this Friday. They're going to have to close out a trade by either rolling or selling what they have or exercising. Even with higher trading volume, quadruple witching days don't always increase market volatility. It may, it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen. Fast fact, while quadruple witching takes place 4 times a year, stock option contracts expire more frequently on the third Friday of every month, chat. Every month, not just quarterly. So then they give you an idea of managing future contracts during quadruple witching. So I encourage people to take a look at that. And let's see what they say for the bottom line. Bottom line is quadruple witching days occurring 4 times a year on the third Friday of March, June, September, and December, this is December 19th, lead to heightened market activity as options and futures contracts expire simultaneously. This phenomenon, now effectively known as triple witching, typically results in increased trading volume, especially during the final hour of trading as traders adjust and roll over their positions. While this surge in activity doesn't necessarily cause market volatility, understanding the dynamics of quadruple witching can better prepare investors for the potential price movements and enable them to strategize effectively. You don't want to get caught slipping, chat. That's basically what they're telling you. If you're unaware that this is taking place and this is the day you decide to go in and you start to buy contracts or whatever the case is, you could potentially be paying more for the contract than it's worth, especially, let's not act like there's not people out there that do DTE, right? 0 days to expiration. You could be paying more than the contract's worth, effectively just giving away your money, right? So it's definitely important to pay attention and understand how quadruple witching or triple witching may actually affect your investing strategy. You feel me, chat? You feel me? It's important to know these things. It's important to know how all these things play in. Because again, if you're an advanced trader, I'm looking at QQQ, not telling you what to do. But if I'm looking at a QQQ, right, and I'm looking at a chart like this, and I know some technical analysis, and this may go over some people's heads. But if I'm looking at this chart and I can clearly see here, this line is basically an area of former resistance because it came up here to an all-time high and then it dropped down and then it came back and it dropped down and then they broke through and they came back and retested it and then came back and then broke through again, then came back up, retested that line, came back down, broke through again, now retesting it again. I'm going to watch this area closely, especially as contracts lead to Friday and they get closer to expiration, especially as we slowly approach the Santa Claus rally, right? If I'm one of those guys that's like, well, history repeats itself. Let's see what history has shown us at all, right? What happened at the end of last year for QQQ? At the end of last year, right? Here you have a quadruple witching, right? And it didn't do too much in terms of volatility. Went up, went down, went up, went down. But at some point, it reached, essentially, it touched an area of resistance twice and decided, yo, fuck this, I'm out. Right? It basically said, listen, this area around 540,
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
it just couldn't break through and it just dropped down. And then when it finally did decide to break through, it went crazy. Right? So here we don't know what's going to happen, but it's important to watch it because this is another area that looks like formal resistance now acting as support. This could break through and go crazy back to the downside, or this could say, listen, we're at a trampoline park, we're at Sky Zone, and next stop, we're going to jump up here. Right? We don't know what's going to happen. It's just important to watch these things. Same thing again, that's QQQ, but if you're looking at the SPY, notice these charts look very similar. Look at this area. Bouncing off, failed it again.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
Around this time frame, and then it broke through, and then now what do we have here, right? We have a situation where it's like, yo, this is a major area of resistance. Where when we're looking at the QQQ, we're looking at support. On here, we're looking at resistance, right? This area, is it going to break through this area or is it going to just keep failing? We don't know, right? We could look at this area as an area of former resistance and then now support. It could spend this whole week dropping back down to this area and decide, you know what? We're going to use this area to catapult us to the next level. We don't know. All we know is that quadruple witching, triple witching is coming, and we want to see what plays out. Because again, for the SPY at the end of last year, here we are. It had a small little, it was kind of stuck in this area. Then not until January 14th did it start kicking back up to see if it wanted to retest before ultimately failing in the middle of February. This could apply to any equity, right? Any equity, any indice, any ETF that you look at. It's important to just check this information out, because you're going to have these areas, right? Tesla trying to come back up and test this area. Tesla previously chilling around this area, right? That's how you want to look at this information. That's how you want to view your positions if you are one of those people that have to make a decision this Friday. You may not have to make a decision at all. Again, we looked at the different styles of investing. You may be a buy and hold investor. You may say, listen, I caught me some Oracle and I'm chilling. But look at Oracle. Oracle once was up here at 345. Now it's sitting down here at 185, chat. Look at this. What are we to make of this? Look at this. Right? Is this an opportunity? Is this a time to start running up on Oracle? Or do you continue to be scared? I don't know. Look at Netflix. Netflix was chilling up here, chat. Chilling up here. Now look at Netflix. Right? Former area of resistance, then became support, then resistance, then support. Now it's bouncing off again. I mean, what could happen? It could come back down into this area, or it could decide, hey, we're running off our Warner Brothers steam. We're gonna run off the quad witching. We're gonna run off the split. We're gonna run off the Santa Claus rally. Let's see what happened last year, right? At the end of the year, here's Netflix going into January, dropped down some, decided to bounce up. Let's make sure we pay attention to these things. That's all I came on here to say. All I came on here to say is, hey, whether or not we have information that really keeps us open to what may be going on, there are still things that are going on. One of those things being quad or triple witching this Friday. Pay attention to your positions. Make sure you know what's going on, chat. Make sure you're keeping your ear to the ground. You feel me? That was Monday for you. I had to come in, had to let y'all know, hey, here's some things to think about. And again, y'all know every Monday it's financial entertainment. So you get some advanced stuff, you get some beginner stuff. Always feel free to ask questions. Never hesitate. But one thing for sure, you're going to learn something. If you didn't learn anything today, I'm sorry.
You're cooked, brother.
You're cooked. You're cooked. But make sure you pay attention. Make sure you absolutely pay attention to what's going on. Make sure you know of the options that are available to you. No pun intended. If you have contracts and you weren't thinking about it, make sure you check your expiration dates. Make sure you see what is going on. Don't just lose money just because you weren't paying attention. We're not doing that. But yeah, that's all I got for you today, chat. That is all I have for you today. It's not a lot of people in the chat. But listen, if we can find somebody to raid out to, we'll do it anyway, right? So until next time, I may get on later. I told you when it comes to the November, December, when it comes near this holiday season, listen, it gets very busy. So I can't promise a bunch of evening streams, but we are going to promise some consistency, and we've been doing that. Shout out to everybody who participated in the Guinness World Record-breaking couples kiss this weekend, Saturday in DC. All 1,435 couples. Y'all were doing y'all thing. Lip locking for a whole 7 seconds. Shout out to that. But until next time, listen. Let's go, chat. Stay tapped in. You already know the vibes. Let's go. Shout out to Ren Jin in the building. You already know the vibes. We gonna raid out, but definitely, good stream. We had to talk about some things. We gonna see who's up, see if anybody's streaming. Let's go check out this guy. See what he talking about today. Shout out to y'all, chat. Appreciate y'all always showing love. Looks like he cooking up something on a card. Let's see what he talking about. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Don't hesitate to ask me questions, especially on a Monday. Listen, who knows what my brain will think of. But when that beat drop, let's go show the boys some love. Let's go.